Hey everybody, my name is Graham Matthews, and as you know, I run Empowered STEM. Empowered STEM is an A-level course provider, and we provide A-level courses in chemistry, biology, physics, and maths for those students that want to enroll in medical, dental, veterinary, financial, and engineering programs at the chosen university in the UK. So today, I wanted to come into this live stream and I wanted to talk to you about habits and about the science of habit and grade performance. So if your teen wants an A or an A star in A-level maths or A-level science, they don't need to put in more hours. They don't need more pressure. What they need are better habits. At the end of this live stream, I'll show you how habits are formed, how they influence grade performance, and how you can help your teen build habits that allow them to make earning top results predictable and not stressful. So let's go talk about habits. Habits, they've done studies and they've determined that habits drive 40 to 50% of our daily actions. So half of our daily behavior is habitual and it's not conscious. Stop and think about this for a minute, parents. You're thinking, really, Graham? Yeah. If you drive to work, are you really paying very close attention to what you're doing as you're driving down the road? Or are you you're on autopilot? Yes, you're watching the cars in front of you, but you're not thinking, oh, I've got to make sure I've done this and I've done that. No, you're probably doing a few other things when you're driving down the road or when you're getting ready in the morning. It's a habit that you have. It's a routine. It's a pattern that you have throughout your day. And the same could be said about students and school success. When they studied students in schools, what they've noticed is that those students that are successful, didn't look bad. Hey everybody, my name's Graham Matthews and I run Empowered STEM. And Empowered STEM is an A-level course provider, and we provide A-level courses in biology, chemistry, physics, and maths for those students that want to enroll in medical, dental, veterinary, financial, and engineering programs at the chosen university in the UK. So today, I wanted to come into this live stream and I wanted to talk to you about habits, the science of habit and grade performance. Parents, if your teen wants an A or an A star in A-level maths or A-level science, they don't need to put in more hours. They don't need more pressure. What they need are better habits. By the end of this live stream, you'll know how habits are formed, how they influence grade performance, and how you can help your teen build habits that allow them to earn top results in a predictable manner in a way that's not stressful. So let's talk about habits. Right, they've done studies and they've determined that habits drive about 40 to 50% of our daily actions. So 40 to 50%, about a half of our daily actions is driven by habits. They're habitual, it's not conscious. So think for a moment, parents, you're thinking, really, Graham? Well, when you're getting ready for work in the morning, it's a habit, it's a routine that you follow. If you're on the tube, if you're driving down the road, yes, you're paying attention, but really you're on autopilot. You're just going through a system, a series of steps. It's a habit that you do at work. You have habits that you do at work. And the same thing when you come home in the nighttime. Most of your day is driven by habits, by routines. Now, they've done studies with students and they found out that school success is not about motivation. It's about patterns. So they studied students that consistently earn top grades. And what they determined is that it's not the amount of motivation that the student has, it's the patterns, the habits which they follow. Because if your teen follows a habit, habits make achievements automatic. There's a saying that comes to mind is that teens don't rise to the level of their goals. They fall to the level of the habits. Yes, this one I think originated in the US Marine Corps, but it's true. Teens don't rise to the level of their goals. They can all say, "Yes, I want an A star. I want an A." They're never going to rise to that level. They're going to fall to the level of their habits because success is driven by habit, is not driven by motivation. Now, I have a saying that says motivation fades, but habits never die. How exactly does the brain form these habits? Well, again, this comes from neuroscience. And parents, at Empowered STEM, we use a lot of neuroscience when teaching the students in our courses. Think of a habit as a circle. It's a loop. You got a cue, a routine, reward. So the cue could be something such as when your teen comes in the evening time and they're sitting down to study. They look at the clock. It's like, it's 6 o'clock. I'm sitting down to study. This is the cue. The routine is they then study A-level chemistry or A-level maths or A-level biology for an hour. The reward is after an hour, they can take a 15-minute break and they can binge social media. Okay. And again, this comes from the neuroscience. And so this is the habit loop that they've figured out from many, many studies that they've done. And the habits are stored in the basal ganglia. And so the basal ganglia, what it does is that it stores repeated patterns or habits. Now, the question is then, parents, why would the brain want to have this habit loop? Why is it storing habits in the basal ganglia? Well, simple, because it saves energy for the brain, because it reduces cognitive load. It doesn't have to think about everything. It can just pick a routine, a set of habits that is done before, that's given it success. And it will do that because it's an energy saving strategy. Now, parents, good habits make studying easier. Poor habits make everything feel harder. If your teen has good habits when it comes to studying, the day goes easier, the week goes easier, the A-level courses go easier, the grades come in where they want them to be at the top end, the A and the A star, because they're following habits. But on the other hand, I was talking about the reward loop, the cue, the routine, reward. Yes, you can also have a bad habit as well. So you can reinforce a bad habit. For example, smoking or overeating or overindulging in anything. All right. There's the cue. You're stressed. So what happens? Some people decide to drink or smoke or overeat. This is the routine they have. And the reward, unfortunately for them, is the health fails. Okay. So habits, two sides of a coin. Positive habits reinforce everything. Negative habits kind of make things a little bit worse. So what your teen needs to do is that they need to start developing good habits when it comes to studying and get rid of the bad habits. Now, getting really technical for a minute, they've done studies and they can show that every time you do the same thing, you start you rewire the neurons in the brain and you start coming up with a neural pathway that gets stronger and stronger and stronger. This is why if you keep on doing a habit, after a while, it becomes second nature. Yes, because the neural pathway in the brain that connects all those neurons together for you to do the habit, it isn't weak. It's actually really, really strong, which is why breaking a habit is so difficult. So take a look then at your teen and what they do during the school day, and you'll notice that the school, it runs on habits. The lessons start at a certain time. They end at a certain time. The day begins, the day ends at a certain time. And when they come in from school, what they need to do is that they need to start developing good habits when it comes to studying, when it comes to revising. So, for example, they can use, now this is from the 6 pillars of neuroscience, they can start to use interleaving. And so they review topics a certain day of the week. For example, A-level chemistry, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. A-level biology, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And they review it at a certain time, the same time every day. Now, we talked about this one in the previous live stream. What it is that the brain, it's a cognitive pulse. Oh, I'm not expecting to do this. At 6 o'clock, it's Monday at 6 o'clock, I'm supposed to be studying A-level chemistry. So now it's looking to start studying A-level chemistry. And so you can now begin to reinforce that reward loop by studying at the same time each week, same day each week. You can interleave the topics. And we talked about this in previous live streams. But the bottom line is this, parents, what you need your teen to do is to make sure that these habits are automatic. Now, parents, we did talk about the fact that teens need a bit of support with this one, because the area of the brain that deals with organization is not fully developed yet. So they do need a bit of support. Help them put a study plan together, help them put a revision schedule together for the week, and then help them, coach them. Don't be the referee, be the coach. Coach them into being successful in following through with what they should be doing according to their schedule. And then they'll start forming a habit, and the habits will lead into success. Because one thing that students think is, oh, it's just willpower. It's willpower, Graham. Oh, I'm just going to get up every day. I'm just going to study A-level chemistry, biology, physics, math. Oh, on the weekend, yes, I am. Possibly 1 week. By the end of the second week, you're burnt out. Because willpower, and they've done studies again, parents. Look, willpower is inconsistent. Sometimes you feel like doing it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes the willpower is high, sometimes the willpower is low. But habits, strong habits, remove the need for willpower because you do something which is habitual. You just do it. Why? Because you know that you should be doing it. And when you do this, what you do is that you avoid burnout. Okay? Because teens that rely on motivation to get through A levels, they burn out. Normally by around the second week. So at Empowered STEM, I said that we run A-level courses. At Empowered STEM, we don't build A-star students through willpower. We build A-star students through systems. Let me say this one again. We don't build A-star students through willpower because we know that willpower is not going to last the entire duration of the course. A-levels themselves are a 2-year course. We build them through systems, a system of habits. So let's look at the habits that we use in our framework. This is the STEM path method that we use. There's 4 steps to it. You probably know what it is. All right. Precision diagnosis, conceptual clarity, strategic vision, and medical mindset. So let's look at this pathway that we use, our framework, and let's apply them to the formation of habits. Precision diagnosis, right. We ask the students to have a look at what they do throughout the day and to identify which habits are missing. Because, like I said, with that reward loop, well, you've either got, it's two sides of a coin, right? You've either got those habits which reinforce what you're doing and help you climb the path to the A or the A-star, or the flip side of the coin is that you have bad habits, those habits that don't help you start walking the pathway to the A or the A star. Okay. Third alternative is that one side of the coin is blank. You don't have good habits. You don't have bad habits. You don't have any habit when it comes to studying, when it comes to revising. Okay. And so precision diagnosis is where we identify good habits, bad habits, missing habits, and we give your team the habits that they need in order to be successful when it comes to A-level maths and A-level science. Conceptual clarity is another habit that they can form. For example, conceptual clarity is when they go through the course content and they really understand what they're talking about. They understand the concept, deep level of understanding, and we teach them this. And a way for them to mirror back that they understand what they're talking about is to explain it to somebody else. It's known as the Feynman technique. As Feynman said, if you can explain the concept to somebody else, if you can teach it to somebody else, then you must understand it. And this is a habit that they bake into their study sessions, into the revision sessions. Strategic revision. Now, we mentioned this bit. We use the 6 pillars of neuroscience. For example, interleaving is one of them. You interleave the topics throughout the week and throughout the day. The next one is medical mindset. Now, this is one, a previous live stream I think I did earlier this week. But the medical mindset is where we reframe the habits that your teen has. And so if they have bad habits, we help them get rid of the bad habits when it comes to studying, when it comes to revising, when it comes to A-level math and A-level science, those habits which are holding them back. And we put into them, we help them rewire their identity so they start to become that type of student that would earn the A and the A star because they see themselves as a future doctor, dentist, veterinarian, for example. Now, when it comes to habits, teens sometimes think, oh, I'm just going to throw everything out. It's going to start a fresh grade, don't I? No. Well, I just got to install these really big habits. No. Small habits lead to big academic gains. And so it comes down to consistency. Let me explain it this way. If you wanted to get into shape for the holidays, you're going away somewhere warm for the holidays. Okay. Would you go down to the gym once and just do some kind of workout that Arnold Schwarzenegger would do? Probably not, because it wouldn't get you the result that you wanted, the one-off attempt at it. But on the other hand, if you showed up to the gym 3 times a week, possibly 5 times a week, and you worked out a moderate workout consistently those 5 days a week, you did it for week 1, week 2, all the way up to the week before you was leaving for the holiday, do you think possibly that you'd make better gains? Yes. Why? Because small, consistent action following small habits lead into big academic gains. So the students in our courses, they may come in, parents, at a C or a D. That's okay. They apply the principle, small wins, small habits lead into bigger habits, and they start to see the grade move from C to a D, a C, D, up to a B, up to an A, up to an A star. Because A-level improvement, it doesn't come from a dramatic change. What it comes from are these micro habits repeated on a consistent basis. So as always, parents, when it comes to the end of these live streams, parents always want to know, is there a real story behind this one? I mean, give me an example, Graham. Sure. Let me tell you about Sophia. Right. When Sophia came to us, she came to us in year 13. She'd been predicted an A star, and unfortunately, her grades on the year 13, the beginning of year 13, they were D's on the tests, on the exams. She was nowhere near where she should be. She thought that she had to put in more time, effort, attention, more hours, more pressure. All right. Had to just really go at A-level chemistry. And we said, well, actually, no. Should we install better habits? And I explained to her the idea behind study habits, revision habits, consistency. And she thought it was a good idea. She went through our course. By the time she'd finished our course and had sat the A-level exams at college, at sixth form college, she'd earned an A star. So she went from a D, beginning of year 13, up to an A star, the final grade in A-level chemistry. And she got into King's University, which is her top university of choice. And she's studying to be a dentist, which is exactly what she wanted to do. Now, if you ask Sophia what made the difference that made the difference, it's this. It's the application of habits. It's understanding that you don't need to burn out by trying to overwork yourself, putting in more hours, more pressure, more stress. You need to be more strategic of what you do. And the idea of habits come to mind. So parents, look, if what I'm talking about in these live streams, if they're making sense to you, if you're thinking, yes, Graham, you show up every week and you're giving us the tips, the techniques, and the strategies I can use to help my teen earn an A or an A star in A-level maths and A-level science. And I want to be part of your ecosystem, if you would. It's really simple. If you're watching this live stream on Facebook, subscribe to Facebook business page, and then you'll be notified of the upcoming live stream. If you're watching it on YouTube, then subscribe to the channel. So not only will you be notified of the upcoming live streams, but you'll also be able to see all the other live streams that we've done every week to help our parents such as yourself help their teens. If you're thinking, well, actually, I'd like to learn more about the courses that you offer at Empower STEM, well, then click the link in the description below the video on the Facebook business page, below the video on YouTube. You can fill out a short form and you can have a conversation with a member of my team. And it's a really easy, simple, non-sales conversation, because all we're going to do is find out where your teen is in terms of grades. What's a working grade, the predicted grade, the aspirational grade, what university do they want to attend, what's the desired career, what issues are they facing. And then we explain to you our courses, our courses offered, how they work. We answer all of your questions. And so then at the end of the call, parents, what you are is that you are an informed parent who's been well taken care of, had all of your questions answered. And if you believe that our courses are a good fit for your teen, and we believe that your teen is a good fit for our courses, well, then you can make the informed decision of whether you want to invest in one of our courses. Everybody take care, and I'll see you in the next one.